My name is Clara Jensen. I've been a volunteer at Pine Ridge Wildlife Reserve for over a decade. I've cared for red foxes with mange, rehabilitated injured hawks, and helped a black bear cub find her way back to the wild. But nothing, and I mean nothing, has come close to the experience I had with the Coldwater Wolf Pack. It started in the fall of 2023. The Coldwater Range, located in the northern part of the state, had long been home to a resilient pack of gray wolves. These animals were ghost-like in their ability to avoid people, shadowing the forests and ridgelines with practiced stealth. Trail cams would sometimes catch a fleeting glimpse: a male crossing a clearing at dusk, a mother nursing pups under the boughs of a pine. But as logging expanded and human recreational traffic surged, the Coldwater wolves found themselves cornered, their territory fractured and prey scarce. By early winter, reports were coming in of the wolves moving closer to human settlements, raiding livestock, and scouring the edges of small towns for food. Panic spread. Ranchers demanded action. One particularly vocal county official called for lethal removal. But thanks to a collaboration between state wildlife biologists, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and Pine Ridge Wildlife Reserve, a plan was quickly drafted: relocate the Coldwater Pack to the reserve's expansive North Range exposition, a carefully managed 400-acre habitat designed to mimic the wolves' native terrain. It wouldn't be a return to the wild, exactly, but it would give them space, safety, and purpose. The wolves would become ambassadors for their species, educating the public about the challenges predators face in a modern world. I remember the meeting where I was first briefed. There were about 20 of us, reserve staff, volunteers, a couple wildlife officers. The lead biologist, Dr. Mel Tran, laid it out bluntly. This is the last chance for this pack. We either give them a new home or we risk losing them to conflict and culling. I volunteered immediately, not out of some romantic idea of saving wolves, but because I understood what was at stake. The relocation took months to plan. We had to identify the wolves' locations, set humane traps, coordinate veterinary support, and prepare the new habitat. Each wolf was a world of its own, complex, intelligent, wary. The matriarch, an 8-year-old female we called Ashen, had already survived 3 den relocations and a snare trap. Her mate, a powerful black-coated male we named Brann, bore scars from territorial fights. There were 6 others, 2 yearling males, 3 juveniles, and a runt pup barely 6 months old. The capture began in late January 2024. We worked in silence, moving through the snowy forest like shadows, setting padded foot snares and remote-triggered cage traps baited with deer meat. Trail cams gave us clues to their routes. When Ashen was the first to be caught, I remember standing by her sedated form, marveling at the coarse beauty of her coat, the pink of her paw pads. There was reverence in the moment, like standing beside an ancient story. Over the course of 10 days, we managed to safely capture all 8 wolves. Each was examined, vaccinated, fitted with a GPS collar, and transported to Pine Ridge in individual containment crates. I rode with Brann, sitting beside the carrier in the back of a modified wildlife transport van. Even sedated, he radiated power. I couldn't stop watching him. Their release into the North Range was filmed for documentation. It was quiet. We opened the gates one by one, and the wolves bolted out into the artificial wild. At first, they stuck close together, staying low, watching us. Then Ashen took the lead, her nose to the wind, and the others followed. I cried. The North Range is no zoo enclosure. It spans forests, meadows, a creek system, and rocky outcrops. Hidden observation points and surveillance tools help us monitor without interfering. The pack adapted quicker than we expected. Within weeks, they established a new den. The juveniles explored. Brann and Ashen reasserted dominance. But what truly moved me were the signs of trust. A month after their release, I was in a blind with Dr. Tran when Brann walked within 20 feet of us. He stared at the glass, then turned away, tail high. He had accepted the boundaries of this new world. Of course, the public response was mixed. Some loved the idea of wolves in a protected setting. Others called it a betrayal of wildness. But as school groups came through the viewing center and listened to the story of the Coldwater Pack, something shifted. People asked better questions. Kids wanted to become biologists. An old rancher donated to our fund. But the story doesn't end there. Something happened in early spring that changed everything again. Early spring brought with it the thawing of snow and the hum of new life across the North Range. For most of us at the reserve, this meant long days of habitat maintenance and preparing for the spring education season. But for the Coldwater Pack, it meant something more. It was March 15th when we first noticed the change. Ashen, the pack's matriarch, was missing from our morning GPS ping. Her caller had always registered with reliable frequency. By mid-afternoon, she still hadn't surfaced. Brann, too, had retreated deep into the northern brush, beyond typical patterns. Concerned, we dispatched a small monitoring team, myself included. We hiked out to the northern ridge blind under light rain, wiping lenses and rechecking signals. Hours passed before we finally spotted Brann. He was pacing outside a thick copse of spruce, ears perked, body tense. Then I heard it, the high, unmistakable whine of pups. Ashen had given birth. We stood there in awe, watching from a respectful distance. 3, maybe 4 pups were nestled deep in a makeshift den dug into a hillside. Tiny, blind, and barely vocal, they were the first wolves born on the reserve. This was more than a milestone. It meant something fundamental. The pack didn't just adapt, they had accepted their new home as a place to raise their young. We reported the birth to the full reserve team. Dr. Tran was nearly in tears. "We weren't sure this would ever happen," she said. "We gave them safety. They gave us trust." But joy turned quickly to worry. One of the younger males, nicknamed Flint, had not been seen for over a week. Then came a call from a farmer just outside the reserve's eastern border. A large gray wolf had been spotted limping near his pasture. We located Flint 2 days later, huddled near a culvert, his back leg clearly broken. It was unclear how he had escaped the perimeter. A downed tree over the outer fence was likely the culprit. He was scared, underweight, but alive. The tranquilizer dart took effect quickly, and I remember kneeling beside him, brushing ice from his fur. Back at the reserve clinic, our vet team stabilized the fracture and began rehabilitation. Flint would never run quite the same, but his recovery gave us time to assess our vulnerabilities. Fencing was reinforced. Tree watch patrols were increased. Still, not all was within our control. Word of the pups had spread. Some praised it, others condemned it. A local columnist wrote that we were manufacturing wildness, that our reserve was an illusion of nature. But if those critics had seen what I saw, they might have felt differently. The young wolves emerged in May, stumbling, yipping, chasing each other through the tall grass while Brann stood watch. They were healthy, curious, beautiful. We gave them names: Echo, Mist, Alder, and the smallest, Cinder. School tours that summer increased. We built a new education pavilion near the southern blind, equipped with live camera feeds and interactive exhibits. Kids could watch the pups grow, hear recordings of Ashen's howl, and learn about the conservation efforts that had saved the Coldwater Pack. I often spoke to the visitors myself. I told them about the frigid morning we found Ashen, about the ride with Brann, and about the moment we realized they were staying. That this wasn't just survival. It was legacy. In July, Ashen led her yearlings to the western slope for the first time. She paused at the ridge, lifting her muzzle to the wind, then released a long, resonant howl. The rest of the pack joined her. We heard them from the education center, and everyone went quiet. Phones were lowered. Conversations stopped. That sound carried something ancient and true. That summer marked a turning point for Pine Ridge. Donations increased. So did interest from research institutions. More importantly, communities nearby started talking differently about wolves. Not as threats, but as neighbors. My last memory of that season was of Cinder, the runt, chasing a butterfly down by the creek, tumbling headfirst into the water, and scrambling out, all legs and confusion. Brann barked, a sharp reprimand, but Cinder shook himself off and tried again. It reminded me that wildness isn't just about place. It's about persistence, about believing there's still room in this world for creatures who ask for little more than space to exist. The Coldwater Pack found theirs. And maybe, in helping them, we found a bit of our own.